everybody, welcome back to another Wine and Comics pairing show. I am Dave.
And I'm Dallas.
We are here today with a standard episode where we are going to show a comic and pair it with a wine of our choice that we think is the best pairing, or at least the best that we have found to date. So I'm going to go ahead and get started if you're cool with that. And I'm going to do my comic and show you my wine. But let's do the comic first. So this week, this was a comic that I got, I pre-ordered at my local comic shop. So I actually got it through the traditional method, which is kind of rare. I get so many things through Kickstarter and digital and whatnot these days that actually buying a comic through and pre-ordering it. And this thing I actually pre-ordered. So this was one of the first series that I did when I started to pre-order and go to a comic shop again. So I was very excited, but this was one I've never heard of it. I didn't know the people involved in it. I still really don't know the people involved with it. I looked up a little bit about them. I think this is the writer's definitely his first comic that I can tell. Although in his bio, he says that he has written for heavy metal before, and he has some and for certain magazines and publications and periodicals and whatnot. But this is the only thing I could find that was like, here's a series. This is this guy's name attached to it. And it is Stud and can my camera, there it is, Stud and the BLOODBLADE. And as you can see from these covers and whatnot, it's 3 issues. Each issue is 48 pages, however. Okay. So and the chapters, you could tell this was basically a 5-issue series that they decided to bundle 2 issues each in issues 1 and issue 2. So even in the comic itself, it starts with a chapter 1, and then you get halfway through, and you literally get like a next issue, but then it just continues on to the next thing, and that is chapter 2. Same thing with issue number 2, it's chapter 3 and 4. But then number 3 was just a double-sized final chapter. So this was obviously meant to be a double-sized final chapter. So 5 chapters, but 6 normal-sized comics worth of pages on this one. And I'm going to go ahead and actually share my screen here. So we have got, so as you can see here, this, at first glance, this looks like a He-Man parody, essentially. And it very much is. There is, in the very final issue, the writer has a little bit of an editorial or sort of a sign-off where he says he grew up on action figures and these types of toy lines back in the day. So you've got things like He-Man, you got things like Thundercats, and the very big bulging muscles, big macho. Back in the day when action figures were very much that, everyone was chiseled, everyone was big, but then also very, everyone had weapons, everyone had costumes, everyone had like a power of some kind that sort of made them who they are. Yeah. And you can definitely see a lot of this when you go through this book here. Oh, and you can even see the covers kind of hint at this. You can see on this one, you've got the little kid on one side holding the axe and then the big brawny man on the other side. So same like, Adam, even though in the cartoon, Adam was the same size as He-Man, it was always kind of hysterical that you was always like, he transforms into He-Man. And you were like, dude, you still look like He-Man. You just lost clothes. That's it. Like that is the entirety of your transformation. In this case, he actually is this tiny wimpy kid who then transforms into this muscle-bound axe wielding rather than.
What's the publication date?
Oh, this was very recent, just a few months ago, I think. Oh no, maybe I'm lying. Maybe this was tail end of 2021. So yeah, the latter half of 2021.
Okay.
So just took me a while to get around to it. So so basically the story follows. Let me back up just a tiny bit here. Story follows this humans that have sort of, or humanoids, which are kind of the people we're supposed to relate to, that are basically us. And they crash land on this planet, which is sort of the Eternia type He-Man planet, where they're immediately attacked by all these things, and Stud comes to their rescue, wielding his blood blade. And the characters in this, so they have things like this character here is called Lava Voom rather than Vava Voom, right? So it's like, and she's of course this busty lava girl kind of a thing. Stud is Stud. You have people, I think this is Coach Roach, so he always talks in nothing but sports metaphors, and leads sort of the bad guys. But the thing about this comic, it should have been just sort of a fun, whimsical parody of He-Man. It is so much more than that. It's kind of phenomenal how much this writer does with this material. There is a new character, idea, something on almost every single page. And it never becomes confusing. It never becomes overwhelming. And then there are the themes and the characters. So there are lots of things. One, as you can see here, it already plays around with, it's very open about the sexuality of the characters in this comic. And, if you have a character like He-Man, or in this case, Stud, that's what it's going to lead to, right? And it's great because at this point, nice. So the reason it's called the Blood Blade is Stud has to continue to draw blood with the blade to stay Stud. If he doesn't within a certain amount of time, he reverts to his scrawny self. Okay, so he falls into this little bit of a romantic relationship here, and all of a sudden you can see the guy he was sleeping with is like, wait, what? Who's this tiny little kid who's suddenly behind me? What's going on? So this goes on. So there are lots of themes here. So there's themes. There's open sexuality. There's themes of toxic masculinity, and sort of what it is to be a protector in the He-Man Stud style, where, you basically are a protector through violence, right? I mean, you're always fighting people. You have a weapon that's called the Blood Blade. So you see here is a quick origin. I'm not going to give too much more away about the comic after this, because I really don't want to just show you the story by going through all of this on screen here. But you can see right here the origin of how they merged into one. Stud was Stud and the kid was the kid. And he's like, oh, you want to here, play with my weapon, lift it up. And he lifts it up and splits his skull in two, which is great. I mean, again, that's sort of like, weapons are weapons. They are lethal implements. They're not toys. Kids are not supposed to play with them. There is so much page to page in this comic where the more you keep reading, the more it takes that, idealized fantasy vista that we always had back in the 80s and early 90s, the G.I. Joes, the He-Mans, the Thundercats, I'm trying to Transformers to a large degree as well. And just really explores what would this really mean if people behaved like this, and if these were the kinds of things happening. So there are folks that want revenge on Stud for the things he's done, but he loves that he is simply last thing I will show here, yet another idea that happens. So this world is called Ouroboros. Okay. All right, that they land on. And there are these sort of twins. There's like a black hole and a sun that are almost entwined with each other. And apparently time is a very fluid thing here on Ouroboros, where it can go many different directions. And they sort of pray to the god of Ouroboros and the deity that, it can grant them certain things playing with this time. So in the very first chapter, something tragic happens, and he wakes up the next morning and time has reverted, and here are the astronauts landing all over again. And he's like, oh, I get to do it all over again. Here I come. I'm going to save the day this time for real, this time for good. Now, this isn't like I don't know if you've seen the Ryan Reynolds movie. The one where he's in a video game and he's like an NPC, a non-player character. What's that? Free Guy, that's it. So yeah, like Free Guy. It's not Free Guy where this is just going to be like a repeat. This only happens once, but it's like, it gives you an idea of how much crazy stuff can happen on this world. And yet it all makes sense. He does, the author, who's Percy Crowe, he does an amazing job just throwing ideas and characters. Right here is the first time we see the armadillo that he rides. This is his battle cat, right? So he rides an armadillo. And it just keeps going. But you've also got tons of crazy characters. You've got gods, you've got Stud. you've got this witch-like character who's seemingly the main bad guy, but that is up for debate as the story continues. And you have this character, Egal, get it? Egal, because an eagle. Yeah. So, but I mean, it has a lot of fun with that type of, naming that they always did back in those action figure days, where it's like the name was so on the nose of what the character was and what they did. And yet they're able to flesh out these characters and give them so much more to do. And the story just, and one more thing the story does really, really brilliantly well. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the share here because I don't want to show any more of the comic. But the one last thing I will mention about this is one other theme is the benevolent ruler of this world, Ouroboros, is called Crony. And I just got that. Crony. It's crony, like chronicle or chronos kind of a thing. So because again, there's a lot of time themes going on here. But he's Crony, just CHRONI, which I suppose you could say Crony. But he is he's a very charming, very persuasive type leader. And Stud is the protector. He's his big, he's his army, one-man army. And a lot of the story also really explores, like, when you are this kind of, I would compare a good modern equivalent to Crony would probably be Elon Musk these days, where it's like when you are that kind of person where it's like, you're very charming, you're very persuasive, you're very confident, but at the same time, you're very cowardly, you're very full of yourself, and you don't take criticism, you don't, and your answer to anything standing in your way is to get rid of it, is to bash it and kill and send Stud out to do something about it. So there's a lot that's...
And you're saying this is wrong?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, it depends. And to some degree, the comic does sort of touch on this as well, which is it depends on where you're standing. It depends on where you're sitting. Always if you're on the side of the people, and Crony has this vision of the future where he's like, we can turn this world into something better than what it currently is.
Yeah.
And kitty. This is Kirara, everyone, if you haven't met her in previous episodes. Him, I don't know why I called her her. I'm sorry, Kirara. This is my little flame point Siamese kitty. So everyone's saying he's named after the Inuyasha cat Kirara, who has flies with flaming paws and things like that. So that's why we named him what it is. But yeah, he'll say hi now and again. If he starts to rub my wine glass, please tell me so I can stop him. Okay, good. He started sitting back down again. So the comic is really good about mentioning and giving it's a lot about POV, but at the same time also like make sure you are always as like, if you are Stud, if you're in that position and you're like, right, you might believe in the vision, you might believe in that future, you might even believe in the leader, like authentically. It's not even like they're fooling you or bamboozling you into supporting whatever their pie in the sky dream is. You honestly believe it, but you always have to keep a good sense of who you are, what you're doing and why, and when does it go too far? Is it all, in the name of blank, does that make it all right? And it shouldn't take an outside third party to question it for you to question it, though often that is what it takes.
Almost always.
So yes. And it's, and the humans, I guess I don't even know if I don't think they're from Earth per se, but they come, the astronauts who come down, and the astronaut's name is Astro. You get it, right? So that's the fun, whimsical parody part. But then the story itself is just so chewy, for lack of a better word.
So it sounds like
so
a lot
much
on the nose, like nomenclature and character archetypes.
I think superficially, it's just a farce. Like superficially, it's just on the nose, like a SNL sketch of He-Man kind of a thing. But then what they do with that surface level veneer, and then they're like, okay, we're having fun, we've named these characters, we've designed them in these clever kooky ways, you get it, it's a He-Man parody. Now we're going to tell a story that is like actually deep and meaningful and resonant and has so much in it. It's going to take you back a couple steps to realize that this is the comic that has that much in it, because you don't think it's going to. So I've been impressed as all hell with Stud and the BLOODBLADE. This, I'm going to follow whatever Percy Crowe does from here, absolutely, because this was such an impressive balancing act of so much content, trying to do so much. And even in a 6-issue series, that's not a lot of page count. It's a decent chunk, but it's not a ton. And this is this is not an established character, even though it's kind of riffing off of an established character. It's got all the ideas in it are brand new. All the ideas in it are not things we're comfortable with or understand or are going and knowing who is who and what is what. Oh, and let me finish I didn't quite finish the astronauts. When they come down, they come from a planet that I don't believe is specifically mentioned. But they're coming from a warlike species, so I'm pretty sure it's us. That they are like the last survivors, and they've sworn off violence of all kinds, of all types. And so when they come to this world and it's all fighting, they're like, no. And the way they relieve tension is orgies. So they're like, everyone sleep with everyone, which is also, as much as I said, there's a lot of open sexuality in this, the studs world isn't actually like the ruling class are like, whoa, who are these new people? They're fucking weird. We don't want that around here. Let's get rid of it. So they clamp down on it, even though the astronauts who come in are very like, what do you mean? I mean, that they rope in the other characters on this world of Ouroboros. But that's the thing, is they're like, no, it's spreading. You can do it with yourselves. Don't bring us into it. Or at least, again, the leadership is like that, which, right. So again, there's so much going on in this book that all of it noteworthy, but all of it so well tied together. It could have a sequel, but it doesn't have to. It's a done in one for sure, even though if it did a sequel, I'd be like, absolutely. I mean, it left it at a place where there's more to tell for sure. Yeah. So yeah, Stud and the Bloodblade. Now, let's talk about the wine that I paired this with. So you would think, and I thought for sure, Stud and the Bloodblade, it's gotta be a red wine, right?
Definitely red wine.
I think you've noticed what I've got in my glass here. This is the wine I paired it with.
Gary's here, buddy.
I tried all sorts of red wines and they were fine. There was nothing that was like, oh, I can't drink this while reading this. I mean, not that most pairings are like that. It's not quite as bad as food where it's all on your palate per se, but I kept drinking reds and I'm like, I'm just drinking wine, and reading a comic. So it's like, I'm not feeling like this is enhancing the experience in any way, shape or form, except I could get to the point where I'm tipsy and then I'm like, this is even more fun. But outside of that, wasn't enhancing it in the other pleasurable way. Right. So I finally realized that this is, again, on the surface, it is a very light, fun, it's not a dense read. It's not a hard read for all that's happening in it. It is such a breeze, like you just kick back. I mean, I couldn't put it down. Something to read, to breeze through on a summer day on your rocking chair. We're old. On a rocking chair outside on I've got a balcony behind these blinds here. I'm gonna yeah. So like go out on
one with cushions.
There you go. I don't have a rocking chair, but if I did, I would go out on that balcony in a rocking chair and read this in the summer heat with a cold. Now, of course, you can chill red wine. There's some very chillable red wines, but this one, it needed something that was light and fruity, but at the same time, it has a complexity, as you probably noticed from this whole spiel that I've been giving, is that it's complex, and yet for all of that, it never gets dense. It's not a slog. You're not taking in all this information. You have to digest it before moving on to the next chapter. So I was like, you know what? I think let's try some whites and let's see if we can find something that we can do. Now, the perfect pairing that I found for this one is not what's in this glass, because I could not do that to you. The perfect pairing is a wine you do not know exists. I certainly did not know it exists. Right. So I was not going to make you guess that this wine existed, because I was like, no, yes. But I am saving you a sip. The next time we are together and in the same room together for an episode, I am going to let you taste this wine, because the perfect pairing for this sucker is this. And it is, I'm going to see, There we go. It is called Early Spring Reserve from the Maple Moon Winery. It is made entirely out of maple syrup.
It's
no grapes involved. It's Michigani. it's a Michiganer wine.
Whoa, here, buddy. Whoa.
And they are the first maple syrup winery. So I don't think anyone else does it at all. I've not found any mention of it. And they do wines as well over here. I bought a couple. Michigan has a lot of, it's a cold climate, so a lot of cold climate varietals like Petite Pearl and Marquette and things like that, like grapes that you don't hear of very often, especially not here in California. You never hear about them in California. But this was the super special one because there are no grapes. It is just made out of maple syrup, and it is completely dry, not sweet not even semi-sweet, no residual sugar. 0.2% residual sugar.
Not even
virtually none.
Come on.
No. So this is the perfect pairing for this because it is, when you sip it, it does taste like a white wine up to a point, but it also has a lot of maple syrup characteristics. Okay. And it tricks your tongue into thinking it's going to be sweet. You can't, your brain demands, like, because you start to sip it and you're like, oh, there's some maple syrup in that. Yeah. And then nothing. It's just dry and complex. It's the and layered. Yeah. And very aromatic. But it's like, but you can't, and it takes like 2 or 3, by about the 3rd sip, your brain has finally rewired itself. But I'm telling you, every time I stop drinking it and put it back in the fridge for a couple of days and take another sip, my brain has to do it all over again. There's something about it. And I feel like this tricks you. Like, you look at it and you look at the art and the color and what it's based on and like the types of characters and the names of the characters. And you're like, oh, this is going to be a sugar rush. And then it's not. And it's exactly the freaking opposite of that. And this paired so magnificently with this that I was just like, yes, something that is, based on, and it's maple syrup. It's like flavors of your childhood. Flavors of things,
sweet sort of familiarity.
Saccharine sweet, the thing that you had the flavor in all your sugar cereals. Right. You had that flavor in like your pancakes, Saturday your waffles, sort of. Your sweet rolls. Yeah, things like maple is everywhere. Yeah. And kids love that type, even if it's not authentic maple. Like that type of flavor and sweetness, like kids love it. But this is beyond the adult version of maple syrup, where it's like it's alcoholic. It is completely dry, not sweet at all. And just has this white wine, like beautiful mineral white wine complexity, though with enough echoes of what it came from. In the same way that, when you drink wine, you can tell it's made from grapes. Like it's underneath all of the complexities that we think of as part of wine. It is still grape juice, within that. Like you can still feel and taste the echoes of that grape juice. And you can do the same thing with the maple syrup in this. Now, I didn't pair it with that because you would never guess it. And I would never guess it if I hadn't just by happenstance visited this damn Michigan winery. Yeah. So, but Maple Moon Winery, guys, anyone who wants to look up this wine, it is special. I'm going to put this back in the fridge after this, save it for you for the next time we are together in the same room. And I'm going to give you a sip of it because it's been open for weeks. I keep just taking small sips and savoring it. And it's holding
wine.
up.
Okay.
So we got to try that. So what I did instead, I went for a more traditional white wine, but something that's still, all those same, everything that I just said in terms of describing this, it has a lot of, it has all those same characteristics in terms of it being, in this case, instead of sweet, it's very fruity. It's very tropical fruity. And it's so tropical fruity, in fact, that even on the nose, that's the thing on the nose, and this is true for the maple wine too. It's very dry and mineral smelling. It's very floral. It's very herbaceous, very grassy, not very fruity, but holy crap on the palate. When you sip this stuff, it is pineapple and guava, and you might get some peach and pear in there. And then it does have some complexity as well. You've got like some ginger, you've got some definitely like some grass or lemongrass type notes, kind of in the aftertaste and in the in the finish. But the front and mid palate is almost dominated by fruit, and it is so tropical fruit sweet. This is a kind of wine that I enjoy. I like it. This is not my ideal white. My ideal white is always, it matches with this comic, and I'm happy to drink it. And it's wine, and it's a well-made wine. This is a good bottle. I'll tell you a little more about that in a minute. But it is, I don't like the tropical fruitness most of the time in my whites. I really prefer minerality, and just, you know, I always say I like my white wines. I want it to be like I'm sucking on a wet stone. That's how I like a white wine, which I'm sure sounds palatable as all hell to everyone listening in, especially if you're not that into wine. But I like it so minerally and so not fruity. This is too fruity for me, for my own personal taste, but is a wonderfully structured, wonderfully balanced, fruity wine that has a lot more going for it. And it absolutely paired with Stud in the. I finally found this before I read the third and final issue, and or I found the maple wine before that. I was like, yes, something like this. And then I found this for the second, as I was still in the middle of the third issue. I'm like, this works very well as well. And this is it's California grown grapes, but it is done in a old world. It is a old world style blend.
An old world style blend. Okay.
But they are all California grown. So I would say that this is a blend, that old world blend, that normally would not be quite this fruit forward, but because they are California grapes, frankly, it's just, you can't get away from it. It's like California grows fruitier grapes than just about anywhere else on the planet. Okay. So, and we're gonna time ourselves this time, guys.
Oh crap!
So you got 60 seconds, or then you got to take a hint.
Okay. Oh, come on, buddy. So my initial thought was it.
You have 6 seconds. Go with your initial thought. It's what you got to give. But you got give it 30 seconds. See if anything comes to you.
So initially,
say anything else
because of the larg, I'm gonna say a Santa Barbara Chardonnay.
No.
Oh, no. Okay. Chenin Blanc. That was actually my initial guess.
Okay. Was the Chenin Blanc or the Chardonnay?
Chenin Blanc.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say no to both. So, and don't forget, this is a blend. So rather than a single varietal, but I will say it's a blend of only 2 grapes. So I will let you know if you guess either of the grapes that are in this blend. You have not, but with those 2 yet. So I will now go, but I will give you your first hint. I'm telling you, this is going to be a softball one for you. Okay. So your first.
No, it's not. Don't set me up like that, buddy. Don't you dare.
Your first clue is that it is a French blend, old world blend, grown, but the 2 grapes are grown in California. You don't even have to name the 2 grapes, you just have to name the style of blend. And it's not the same as the last French blend I gave you, which was Rhone. So what does that leave?
Right. That's
1 minute, go.
Oh God.
I know this is gonna kill us. The 1 minute thing.
Montrachet.
Big region.
It's not Burgundy.
Right.
I give up. What is it?
Right. The right first letter. It's the right first letter.
Oh, the right first letter is B.
You do know this. When I say it, it's just not coming to you. I guarantee you. But let me give you one more clue.
Bordeaux.
So yes, Bordeaux.
Yeah, duh.
But yes, Bordeaux. Boom. Yay, 2 points for you. Only one clue this time around. But yes, it's a Bordeaux blend. So the white. What is it? White Bordeaux is always 2 grapes and 2 grapes only, which is Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. So This one is a wine. It is from a place called, let's see, there it goes, Somm Blanc.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
Semillon.
Yes.
Second guess. I guessed myself out of it.
Oh, yeah, I would have said yes, Semillon is one of them. Now, in this one, it is Sauvignon Blanc dominant. I think it's 70 or 79%. I mean, it's and then it's like, oh wait, here it is. It is 82% Sauvignon Blanc, 18% Semillon.
Okay.
And that is true. Most Bordeaux whites are going to be Sauvignon Blanc heavy. And those are usually the more affordable versions of a Bordeaux white. And then the expensive ones are usually predominantly Semillon. And then with just some Sauvignon Blanc mixed in. Semillon, if anyone watching this is unfamiliar with Semillon, that is one of my favorite white wines of all time. That is one I've rarely found a Semillon that I was even so about. I just love them. They can be taster's choice. I do not have a palate that most people will agree with. So I will put that out there. First and foremost, I like a lot of weird flavors that are like, I'm that guy that's like, I want the black jelly beans, none of the other ones.
He's the guy who wants the maple wine.
Right. I want the rum raisin in my, that's my favorite ice cream flavor. Like I'm that old man, I want the black licorice and the rum raisin, blah, blah, blah. So Semillon has a very, what people always describe as an oily texture to it. Where when you, especially if you have a single varietal Semillon compared to almost any other white, like it has this like,
it lingers. It definitely.
Yeah, there's something almost like someone mixed just a tiny bit of olive oil in with it or something. Like it really does feel oily on the palate. But the flavors are just phenomenal. It is kind of hard. It's not as easy to find as something like Sauvignon Blanc, and it's not as especially in California. Okay, that was me. Let's turn it over to you, my man.
So the book I chose is, can everyone see this? Book
Yes, Jason Shiga.
Jason Shiga. So first of all, I'm actually not going to say much about this book because I think you need to read it in order to truly appreciate it.
Sure.
That's a bit redundant, but BOOKHUNTER, Jason Shiga. So I'm just going to read the synopsis here for you guys.
Okay.
Ripped from today's headlines, BOOKHUNTER fires off and you can't quit reading. The excitement is fulfilling. The year is 1973. A priceless book has been stolen from the Oakland Public Library. A crack team of book hunters, aka library police, have less than 3 days to recover the stolen item. It's a race against the clock as our heroes use every tool in their arsenal of library equipment to find the book and the mastermind who stole it.
Oh God, that sounds amazing.
So for those of you who don't know, Jason Shiga is kind of a golden boy of the early millennium, for sure. He's often considered a reclusive math genius. He kind of is. I mean, he just is. He was a very reclusive guy. This was published by Sparkplug, which is now defunct. Of course, so many great little publishers that just have gone by the wayside. Defunct. Sparkplug came about in 2002. Dylan Williams. They've had, I'm not going to say tons of Eisner winners, but Jason Shiga's Fleep was the 2003 Eisner winner. The book itself it's done again in this sort of gray scale, sort of these gorgeous brown tones, right? And yeah, Shiga's, the artwork is just so simple. If you were a librarian out there, you, America, listening right now, and you wanted a book that gave you a hero, this is the guy. This is the guy. This guy is for you. This is going to be your new hero. He shakes shit up in the library, okay? And I love things and people who shake shit up. And this character shakes shit up, and so did Shiga. Again, very reclusive guy. I mean, his resume, his CV is just ridiculous. He's another guy who tends to use the backdrop of his hometown as the backdrop for his properties. So what has this book done? Well, it's described as the first work of comic genius for the new millennium. It was, I mean, it kind
small
of
praise, small praise.
It's small praise, very small praise. And again, as a kid who used to live and die by the card catalog in my school's library, as a guy who used to create this sort of fan fiction for the librarians in his school, I was that weirdo, geeky little child who created fake narratives, fantastical narratives for the librarians in my school. This book definitely reaches back and gives that kid a high five. So amazing. I highly recommend this book. I'm actually not going to tell you much more than that. You shouldn't. I've read that long ago. Don't. It is not a very long read. This is a cup of coffee. You know, it's it's a page turner. It's also the kind of thing you just can't put down.
And I'm going to back you up here. Hold on. Yeah. It's back here in my bookshelf, which this is a bookshelf back here. I'm gonna find this real quick. It is another Shiga book.
Oh,
there it is. Oh, bam! You were talking about how he was a reclusive math genius.
Yes.
And this was another one he did called Meanwhile. It is a choose your own adventure book where there are all these tabs on the side, where as you read any given page, it'll be like, choose this path and pull that tab, or choose this path over here and then pull back that tab. And there are 3,856 story possibilities in this one book. That is insane. And he designed this entire book. That is, this was sort of his ultimate math genius, like going from page to page. It is the ultimate choose your own adventure book. I no longer remember if there's anything that keeps it not for kids, but maybe don't buy this for your kid. Just be on the safe side.
Wait until they're 18.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, I thought I'd bring that up because I was like, yes, the math genius part.
Yeah, he just, man, the way he draws these panels and these characters, and again, they're so simple. I mean, the style is just so not simple, simplistic. Intentionally simplistic.
Minimalist.
It is very much minimalist and minimalism. You know, it just, the character is just so endearing and lovable, even through all the antics. I will say this: the first time I read it, it was a very passive read.
Okay.
It wasn't profound to me at all the first time. But I reread it as 14-year-old Dallas, 13-year-old Dallas, and what this kind of world building, this kind of narrative, this kind of these kind of references would have meant to 14-year-old Dallas. Now, 14-year-old Dallas probably wouldn't have had access to wine. Actually, that's a lie. 14-year-old Dallas' dad owned an alcohol store, so he would have had access to wine. The book itself, I think, is just phenomenal, and I would recommend reading it twice because you can do that. That's 2 cups of coffee.
There you go. Boom, boom.
So now to the wine.
Yes, hit me, and I promise I will time myself.
Okay.
No cheating.
Let me find my notes here for a second. All that. So this is. Do you want the region? Yes. Would you like the region? Would you like the
I would.
region? You would like the region. So this grape, these grapes, this blend, technically grown between the towns of Orange and Avignon. And the region is Rome.
Okay. That's all I get. Do I get a flavor profile? Give me something.
Should I? Okay. There is great overlap with the GSM blends, of course. It is
okay. Should I start?
Jammy. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I saw you. Go ahead. You're angling for more time.
So jammy, no, give me the flavor profile. That's
jammy.
Fair. You should give me the flavor profile.
So it's definitely jammy. That is often going to be the dominant sort of acute profile
okay.
from this particular blend. Yeah.
Okay.
Black cherry.
Black cherry, okay.
Black cherry. It's a pretty high alcohol content. You experience that in this wine more than others, particularly if they are young, and this is a rather young one.
Okay. Okay. All right. Starting my minute. It is okay. Blend black cherry. And you said it was near Rhone or Rhone-like?
It is the Rhone region. It is
the Rhone region. Oh, but not the GSM blend. Oh no. This is going to test my knowledge of what's in the Rhone region.
Technically, GSM is the profile.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna have to take a stab in the dark and go with just another French region that I'm aware of, and I have no idea if it's part of the Rhone or not. But Chateauneuf-du-Pape.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Yes.
Is it? It is?
It's a 2019 Chateauneuf-du-Pape.
I wasn't sure if that was in the Rhone. I'm like, oh shit, is it in the Rhone? I think it is, but maybe
that's
not.
What usually trips people up. Exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a Chateauneuf-du-Pape. It's a 2019. You know, it should be aged so much more than this, but I decided, you know, it kind of was the darling of the wine world for a while. And much like BOOKHUNTER.
So is Shiga. Yeah.
And Shiga. And it has some of that distinct darkness that I appreciate. But it's also very sweet and I don't want to say comforting. I hate that word. You don't want to put it down once you really dig into it. And again, the wine itself, again, was a wine that I wasn't very fond of the first time I tried it. It came with such a resume and such expectation. It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
I don't see it, but you know,
well, you
2
know,
bottles later that night, and I would sold.
Yeah. Well, they say a lot about with Chateauneuf-du-Pape. It's these days, at the very least, they're a very tricky region in France right now, and as part of the Rhone, I can say it's part of the Rhone because now I know for sure it's part of the Rhone. It is. There's really good and not so great wine, all coming from Chateauneuf-du-Pape. It's a big region, bigger than you think. And people other wine people that I follow that have traveled there recently have seen like some of the places are still amazing, but it's grown so much and they are I know they've been Chateauneuf-du-Pape has also been very standoffish with the rest of the Rhone region. Like they don't want to be a part of like certain, I don't pretend to entirely understand, but there are certain things that like tie all the regions together governmentally and socially and culturally speaking. And Chateauneuf is like, oh, you guys all do that. We're out. We're not going to do that with you. And so they do their own thing.
Yeah.
And part of what doing their own thing means is like some of the vineyards are still very well treated and are amazing. And then other of the vineyards have been like, they're by roadsides where the grapes are picking up all the exhaust from the cars. You see lots of weird, like a lot of chemicals being used on the vineyards and things like that as well, where it's like some of what you're getting from Chateauneuf-du-Pape these days is still going to be what its rep says, but you've got to be careful and you've got to sample and taste around because a lot of it is not what it used to be.
The key is to drink as many as possible, to try as many
and then you like it more and more. Yes.
Absolutely.
But I will double Dallas's recommendation on Jason Shiga there, because I haven't read him in a while, even though I have this Meanwhile book, which I still go back to every once in a while. I'll crack it open and do it all over again because you forget.
Hold that up again, actually.
Yeah. Boom, boom. Whoop. There it is. Meanwhile.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Oh.
I will maybe lend this to you when we get back in person again the next time too. I got to give you the Cats of Ostia Antica as well, because
that's right. Yeah.
Before. But I love his style of writing. I have a huge affinity for minimalism in art when it looks super cartoony, but they're doing really crazy complex, like, Book Hunter is almost like an action story.
Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
I think, and there's like some violence and bloodiness and things like that going on there, but it's all done with these characters that should be like in a Peanuts cartoon or like a Kathy cartoon or something like that. And you're like, what? And that dichotomy, I adore that so much.
Yeah.
So
same.
Yeah, I'm all,
when you
I'm
play
all
against
Shiga.
the types, it's beautiful. He does amazing work. I love it.
Yes. So Jason Shiga, Book Hunter.
Go check this out, guys.
Or Meanwhile, if you want to get the whole like infinite possibility, not infinite, but almost 4,000 story possibilities for the ultimate Stud and the BLOODBLADE. You can still buy this on the CEX comic site, I believe, and then it's on Kindle for digital. If you go to Amazon,
I don't know
Kindle.
much about CEX actually.
So they do a lot of comics education online, where they will teach you classes about making comics and different parts of the art form. But they've only recently gotten into publishing as well, and this is one of their first, I believe, not the first, I don't think, but one of their early first. So they don't have much out, but they have a lot of upcoming books as well. And if this is any indication, I'm CEX, bring it on.
Generally that style, that cover would not attract my attention. Because I assume certain things based on that. But the way you're describing
and just to repeat here, Bordeaux white, or go to the Maple Moon Winery if you want to see some maple syrup wine, because that's freaking amazing and rare. And then Chateauneuf-du-Pape, try some of that. It is one of the great regions of France. So even though you can get some bad bottles these days and some wonderful bottles, they still have a lot of amazing stuff to offer. So look into that if you so wish. And we will see you next time on the next Wine and Comics Pairing show. I'm Dave.
I'm Dallas, and I just want to know that there was significantly less umming this episode.
We did okay. And we're going to keep timing this 1 minute. That's something.
Yeah,
we're going to get a timer on screen next time. Yeah.
We are both very long-winded people. So yes, the time was okay.
All right. Ciao, guys. Talk to you next time.
Later, guys. Beautiful.
Ooh, we did it. 8:20. Perfect. I'm going to run to Trader Joe's before it closes at 9. I'm going to still get that in today. No, not for wine. I actually need things to go with my wine for one. So I have to go buy more things.
And I hate complaining. I'm so not a complainer. And I heard myself complain when we first started, and I would have slapped the shit out of myself. So
I'm kind of the same. Like, I don't complain, but at the same time, it's like this energy and attitude, it's a fucking lie. So just so you know, going in, like, this is This is my put it on face, and it's
This
like
is
I'll put
me
it on.
performing.
Exactly. This is me performing. Please don't think I'm actually this happy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right. My life is not this good. It's all good, but it kind of is. But it isn't. But it is.